It takes two to tango in the championship of March Madness, but right now, a square dance in San Antonio as the UT Dallas Comets take on the Nebraska Wesleyan Prairie Wolves here in the final game of this regional here in San Antonio. Winner of this moves on to the Sweet 16 and the sectional round. We will see who hosts it after tonight. The front runner for hosting duties would be Hampton-Sydney if they win. But for now, I'll run through the starters of both teams. Starting for Texas Dallas, a senior guard, number 2, Donovan Suter. A junior guard, number 3, Luke Kaiser. A junior guard, number 11, Nick Donnelly. A freshman forward, number 35, Jolden Balderaz. A sophomore center, number 44, Austin Page. Starting for the Nebraska Wesleyan Prairie Wolves, a junior guard, Carter Glenn. A senior forward, Landon Torniton. A junior forward, Peter Lash. A junior forward, number 45, Jack Gredicke. And a junior center, Connor Brown. Welcome to the Tiger Network. I am Reed Rosales, joined by Luke Terry. And Luke, we've seen some great basketball so far, but what do you think of this matchup between the Prairie Wolves and the Comets?
First thing that jumps off the page about these two teams is the fact that you have a couple of 6'10" players or above out there in the starting lineups. For the Comets, it's going to be Austin Page standing at exactly 6'10". On the other side for the Prairie Wolves, Jack Gredicke standing in there at 6'11". They both had very, very big impacts on their team's victories last night, but in really different ways. Gredicke for this Prairie Wolves squad was very good on the defensive end, deterred the Centenary Gents, and sent them out of the tournament early. Austin Page, very, very steady inside presence offensively for the Comets. He had some foul trouble, but his early contributions in that win over Trinity were enough to get them across the finish line.
Nebraska Wesleyan stymied the Gents' offensive attack and won that game 58-41. Really dominant in that second half. And UT Dallas comes into this one, knocking off the host institution, Trinity, Texas, 67-63. Both sides have aspirations for the Sweet 16 and to keep dancing on in March Madness. We are nearly underway here in San Antonio. The official gives some practice tosses for the tip-off. The Prairie Wolves huddle breaks, and soon the Comets huddle will break as well. A good turnout from both sides. UT Dallas sitting across from us, and Nebraska Wesleyan fans closer to us. You can't quite see them on the cameras, but a great turnout from both sides. We are nearly underway. Jack Gredicke and Austin Page give each other a little fist bump as they get ready to square off against each other. Number 44 versus number 45. Both sides are ready. The tip, won by Gredicke. His stature proving to be a bit too much, even though Gredicke and Page are just an inch different. Trying to drive into the arc was Brown, but now outside to Gredicke, immediate three, boom! Jack Gredicke starts it off with a bang as Nebraska Wesleyan leads 3-0.
And similar to what we saw yesterday, Gredicke stepping out early to knock that three ball down. We've talked about both of these guys as he gets the rejection on Page right there. Both standing in at 6'10 plus, but Gredicke's movement, both ends of the court, going to be a real separator.
And Gredicke trying the reverse layup there, doesn't go. Luke Kaiser going quickly, gets it to Donnelly. Now in for Balderaz. Austin Page goes up and draws the foul. Kinda hugs the official near the end line, but he's gonna be going for some charity stripe shots.
And Page crashing hard right there. UT Dallas trying to get back and score in transition against a Prairie Wolves team that wasn't set defensively and didn't have Gredicke in the middle of the paint. The first shot off, a little strong from Page. They got it at the block. where Balderas was waiting, but Gredicke recovering nicely. Page recognizing he might have an opportunity on the far side of the rim. Kind of exactly what happened, and Gredicke was forced to send him to the free throw line. And it only results in 1 point.
Nebraska Wesleyan working quick. And Torrington stepping out of bounds, says the official. So turnover by the Prairie Wolves. UT Dallas gets a chance to tie the game or take the lead. We'll see what they do. Kaiser gets it to Donnelly. Donnelly back down to Kaiser. Kaiser hits up Page, but now back on the outside of the arc. Kaiser into Balderas. Balderas going in, trying to fight against Gredicke, and he wins that battle. 3-3. Great move by Balderas.
And Balderas not really affected by Gredicke right there. Remained very patient and did exactly what you want to when you're facing a taller player. Don't try and fade away. Go straight into the body. It's exactly what he did. Timed it perfectly and used the glass nicely.
And trying to slam it, but Gredicke can't get the dunk. Kaiser now outside the arc, goes to Suter. Suter goes up for three. Off on the accuracy check, however. Suter heads back to the other side of the court, kind of holding his shoulder a little bit.
Yeah, going through some arm circles. He's still grimacing and holding it on the defensive end right now. Unsure, because he looked fine in all of yesterday's nightcap against Trinity.
And a push going to be called there on number 11 for UT Dallas, Nick Donnelly. Peter Lash being the victim of that push. Carter Glenn will be the ones to inbound it, trying to find a Prairie Wolf. Where does he go? He goes back to Connor Brown. Brown handing it off to Torrington. Torrington back to Glenn. Glenn on the near side, goes to his right. Pull-up shot, does not fall. Suter with the board. UT Dallas heading back across the timeline. Suter down to Donnelly, gets it into Page. Page out to Kaiser. Kaiser takes the three and he makes it. UT Dallas up by 3 off of the three from number 3, Luke Kaiser.
And transition right there. Torrington turning to his coaching staff and trying to figure out what the miscommunication was right there. As Glenn is pointing to his chest as he goes back to the backcourt. Might have gotten hit in some capacity. He's still kind of holding his throat. There's an official's timeout called. Not entirely sure. Kind of an awkward play right there. But so far, UT Dallas approaching this one in a similar manner the way yesterday's game was started against Trinity. Trinity, another team much like Nebraska Wesleyan, that's going to run this zone defense, trying to get a 2-1 advantage against the bottom man from these Prairie Wolves.
Donnelly takes the three. Bang! Nick Donnelly puts UT Dallas up by 6. But working quick in transition, Connor Brown with the points in the paint. So a quick response from the Prairie Wolves. Suter takes it across the timeline this time. Goes down to Donnelly, back to Suter. Dishes it into Page, Austin Page in the paint. Spinning around, working against Gredicke. Tries to go up for the reverse lay, but denied by Gredicke. The stature too much. And foul going to be called there as Connor Brown hits the deck.
And in last night's affair, Austin Page kept that pivot foot down and operated very effectively by just continuing to try and dissect down low on the block, just get an advantage by stepping around some smaller Trinity defenders. Didn't really have to elevate over the top of 6'6" Christian Green, but with Gredicke having the size advantage, unless he can elevate, that's probably going to be the end result a lot of the time for the Comets.
Connor Brown with the nice finish there. It reels the Prairie Wolves within 2. Balderas gets the ball, kicks it back out to Kaiser, now to Suter. Suter for 3. That one doesn't go. Off the rim. Prairie Wolf ball. Right now for Suter, missing both the threes, but taking them much quicker than he did against Trinity last night.
Yeah, my thoughts exactly. And 2 attempts in the first 4 minutes doesn't seem like a ton, but I believe it took him about 11 or 12 attempts in that second game last night before he got 1 shot attempt up at the rim.
And for Torrington, easy finish for him. The Prairie Wolves tie it up at 9 against the Comets, as that lead is now a mirage. A 6-0 run for the Prairie Wolves. Donnelly getting it into Page. Page goes cross court for Kaiser for 3. Go get it, Luke Kaiser. UT Dallas goes back up by 3. It's 12-9.
And again, right there, Torrington turning to his coaching staff and having a little bit of a discussion as that one falls through. Just miscommunication and some wide open shooters on the opposite side against this Nebraska Wesleyan zone.
And now quick in transition. Suter, sick Euro step action to dodge the defender. 9-14. An immediate battle on the inbounds. It's gonna go the Comets' way. Stoppage in play. And Lash certainly not happy with where that ball went.
And Lash not getting any help on that inbound opportunity right there. Maybe tries to force it into the corner just a little bit. But so early on in this one, don't blame him for not wanting to burn a timeout or anything of that nature. Just a better defensive play. Heads up right there for the Comets, forcing Glenn into a tough area and then seeing it through to the end and creating the turnover.
And just for everyone at home, the clock on your screen may not be accurate. We will update the time as much as possible, but right now, a bit of a malfunction for the clock on screen. Right now, it is 15:06 on the clock. We'll be sure to say it multiple times just so we never get lost, just in case the clock never comes back to being live. But UT Dallas up 14-9. And, you know, it's what they want to do. Last night against Trinity, they held the lead for pretty much the entire game. And they ended up pulling it out. It's something that UT Dallas perhaps not that used to, maintaining a lead.
Yeah, and if you didn't have the opportunity to watch that UT Dallas game last night, we talked about it very extensively. The magic of March might have started a little bit early for the Comets. They needed to win the ASC conference tournament to secure a Pool A bid. Otherwise, they very likely wouldn't be playing here in the NCAA tournament. Needed a couple of comeback victories, and they got them.
Rob Wade in for UT Dallas, number 10. Page in the paint, looking for a man, spins around instead, takes it himself and gets the points. Austin Page making an impact in round 2. UT Dallas up 16-9.
Yeah, but that time, rather than navigating with that pivot foot, trying to find some open space by stepping around the defender, uses the spin move and just rises up over the top.
Connor Brown finds the ball in the paint. Some good passing by the Prairie Wolves. Really opportune passing as well. 14:30 left in the first half. Suter gets it in to Page. Now to Wade. Rob Wade goes back out to Kaiser. Kaiser driving in, gets it to Wade. Wade loses the ball. It's going to stay Comet ball, however. 14:20 left in the half.
And Wade comes into this game. The Comets continue to try and go operating 2-on-1, the bottom part of this zone. It's been successful and some great passing around that painted area, but just better defensive hands right there for the Prairie Wolves, and ultimately a little bit of confusion on that next pass, and they'll create a turnover.
Thibaut Tagnon in for UT Dallas as well, junior guard of Carrollton, Texas. Now pass it to Brown. Connor Brown and the Prairie Wolves trying to get some more points on the board. Getting it into Lash. Cannot finish, however. Page, the ball in his hands. Back down to Donnelly. Donnelly working to his right. Hands it up to Kaiser. Back down to Donnelly. Donnelly looks in for Austin Page at the elbow. Back out to Kaiser. He drives in. Back to Tagnon for 3. Tagnon sinks it. UT Dallas up 19-11. 13:40 left in the first half.
Tagnon was incredibly important down the stretch for the Comets last night, and coming off the bench in both games, but already proving to be an early spark.
Carter Glenn trying to push in against Wade. He does so. Short shot, can't finish, tries to kiss it off the glass. On the floor foul. New face in for Nebraska Wesleyan, Elijah Thatch, number 22.
Thatch doing a nice job of crashing the offensive glass right there. Mentioned how these teams are similar in the open, but one thing that we didn't talk about might be understandable. Both of these teams, with the size they have, dominated the glass in their wins yesterday. Have to imagine that whoever can lead in that capacity tonight is going to have a good chance to win it.
10 seconds left on the shot clock. Lash nearly loses the ball, takes a three off the back of the iron. Gredicke with the board, his shot goes awry. And now back across the timeline are the Comets. Kaiser getting it to Tagnon, back to Kaiser. Now back to Tagnon, up to Kaiser again. They're playing catch with each other. Tagnon trying to get it into Page, he does. Page working around, it goes out of the paint. Now out to Kaiser yet again. Rob Wade, contested shot is good. UT Dallas up by 10 on Nebraska Wesleyan.
Again, Wade catching right there on the block, going straight to the chest of Gredicke. Gredicke, because of that, not able to elevate and block that shot. Wade nicely finishes it off the backboard.
Thatch thought about a three, instead drives in. He is surrounded by Comets, gets it out to Glenn. Under 10 seconds on the shot clock. Glenn's shot is a swish. Comets going back to the other side. It is 21-13. Nearly 12 minutes left to play in this first half. Ball gets handed off to Matthew Soto. First time calling his name in this one. Tagnon back out to Soto, going to Kaiser. Kaiser finds Wade on the inside, now to Page. Page gets the foul. I think Gredicke will be tagged with that one.
And if that is the case, and it looks like it is here in San Antonio as the referees report to the scorer's table, and that's going to be Gredicke's second personal foul. So a very big call right there that goes the way of UT Dallas.
Score right now, 21-13. 11 minutes, 54 seconds left on the clock. UT Dallas leading. Going in to some of the stats. Right now, 4 turnovers for the Prairie Wolves that have led to 9 points for UT Dallas. We'll see if that continues to be a factor in this one. But right now, the rebound game, as you mentioned earlier, nearly tied. Prairie Wolves have a 1 rebound advantage, 6-5.
You talk about fast break points, a big deal when both of these teams have big men that they can rely on to deter attempts in the paint. Live ball turnovers, giving each of these squads the opportunity to get out and run and try and get to the basket against a defense that isn't set and a defense that doesn't feature a 6'10 or 6'11 body in the middle of the floor.
And UTD blistering the nets from downtown right now, 4 of 6. Nebraska Wesleyan, 1 for 2. They just haven't taken as many shots from beyond the arc, but if they do, they may be 4 for 6 as well. But right now, we'll watch as Austin Page takes a pair of free throws. The first shot is good for Page. Looking to extend the lead back to a 10-point-1. He's unable to do so. Thatch gets the ball off the errant free throw. Now Carter Glenn charged with leading the offense. Goes across the logo, the Tiger head. Now Connor Brown with the ball in his hands. Down to Glenn. 15 seconds on the shot clock. Up to Lash. Who's going to get called for the travel? Turnover by Nebraska Wesleyan. And we'll see if UTD can convert this turnover into points as well.
Yeah, and off the catch, it didn't exactly look like a travel. Lash maybe skipping as he was going into his dribble just a little bit, but a tough call for Nebraska Wesleyan. This one on the other end, though, going their way, and they'll get the ball right back.
Lash will be the one to inbound it to Carter Glenn. And Carter Glenn, taking 3 shots from the field so far, kicks it out to a new Prairie Wolf on the court. But right now, Hunter Brown going out to Lash. Open 3. That one is left short. Thatch with the offensive board, but ball punched out of his hands. Rob Wade has Lash to contend with. Euro step, reverse layup. Excellent shot by Rob Wade, puts UTD up by 11.
That was a good job by Lash getting back in transition. Just a better finish by Wade, getting to the other side of the basket, making it a difficult job to try and block that one. And you're right, finishes nicely at the rim.
And a tough three made by Peter Lash. 16-24 the score. The new face on the court for the Prairie Wolves is Andrew Brewer, number 5. Thibaut Tagnon looks for Suter. Suter dodges Lash, works his way in the arc. Short shot does not go. Gravity just working against Suter on that one. 24-16. Glenn steps into the arc for a jumper. He swishes it. It's almost like the net didn't even move.
And past 2 days, Glenn has been realistically more prone to step inside the arc and rise up from about 15 to 18 feet rather than shoot the ball from outside the three-point territory. But he's been very good from that mid-range. He shows so a couple of times here in the first half.
Now, number 4, Seth Newton on for Nebraska Wesleyan. And for UT Dallas, Balderaz looking to check back in. We are under 10 minutes here in San Antonio. 9 minutes, 51 seconds on the clock right now. It's 24-18. Inbound to Newton, gets it to Glenn. Number 3 working against number 3. Back down to Lash. In for Newton. Carter Glenn working to his right, now going to his left. Dodging Balderaz, shot from the top of the key, doesn't go. The ball is live and tried to be kept in, but they're gonna say UTD ball. I believe Lash unable to save that one.
And the entire Nebraska Wesleyan bench up on their feet at that call. Felt like Lash got there. I think the call was that he dribbled the ball on the line as he was tipping it to his teammate. The coaching staff certainly not a fan.
Trying to find Page inside, but the ball is batted away to Tagnon. Tagnon finds the ball in his hands again and finishes it off this time. 18-26. Very fortunate series of events for Thibaut Tagnon.
That one kind of hitting the underside of the rim, falling straight back into his hands. All the defenders turning, trying to locate the basketball for a rebound. And realized he had it already and was putting it up off the backboard.
Newton hands it off to Thatch. Thatch going down to Brewer, who's gonna get called for the travel. Turnover by Nebraska Wesleyan. They are down 26-18. 8 minutes, 51 seconds left in the first half.
And that one a little bit more clear and obvious. Brewer was leaving his feet as he was catching the basketball, so caught it, came down with a little bit of a jump stop, then picked that foot up again as he was starting to go to the basket. Easy one for the referees that sends us into a second timeout, third timeout, I suppose, here in half number 1.
And UTD hitting their shots right now, 7 for their last 9 from the field. And I think that is indicative of the score we see right now. Wesleyan has the talent to make the comeback, but those 7 turnovers hurting them right now. Saw it yesterday as well. Had 20 turnovers in the game against Centenary. That one didn't cost them, but right now it's proving a bit more costly in this game against the Comets.
Yeah, turnover is not hurting because the Gents simply couldn't figure out the Prairie Wolves zone, struggled to hit shots in the mid-range. But right now, UT Dallas is very patient on this end of the court.
And the pass can't find a Comet. So Carter Glenn and the Prairie Wolves on the move yet again. Lash going to Brewer. Back down to Glenn. Carter Glenn finds Newton. Newton steps a bit outside the arc. Little underhand pass over to Brewer. Back out to Glenn. Glenn pierces the arc. Back to Lash outside the arc. Euro step trying to go through Suter. Is going to draw the foul. And a great move by Peter Lash.
And Lash trying to navigate through some defenders as he was getting to the basket right there. Difficult task for a big 6'6" guard forward. But because he didn't go straight through the chest of any of those defenders, he was trying to get around them. That's where the contact came. I think it's a nice block call that the referees made right there.
And one doesn't go. 20-26. Luke Kaiser going to Suter, back down to Kaiser. Kaiser looks towards Wade, but instead goes to Page. Page in the paint, working against Brewer. Page, contested shot doesn't go. And it will be Prairie Wolf ball as Peter Lash able to watch it go out of bounds correctly, as it was a Comet that knocked it out. Now Carter Glenn working against Kaiser. Prairie Wolves trying to come back. Thatch moving towards his left. He gets it to Glenn. Glenn still dealing with Kaiser. Works his way in, going fast, gets it to Brewer. Brewer able to finish with his right hand. 26-22, UT Dallas's lead dissipating.
But Glenn creating that opportunity almost all on his own. Nice burst from the three-point line. Maybe a little bit too overextended in the process. Nice wraparound pass to the cutter.
Now going in, back out to Thatch. Thatch takes a contested three. Bang! Elijah Thatch, contested by Tagnon. No problem.
And Thatch caught it, thought about it for just a moment, allowed Tagnon to get out there in recovery. The defender was right there. He pulled up over the top despite it, and he was able to knock it home.
Tagnon going out to Kaiser. Kaiser goes to Tagnon. Tagnon, pass it to Page. Trying to get it into Wade. It's going to be Comet ball as it ricocheted off a Prairie Wolf. Timeout on the floor, 4 seconds on the shot clock. So UTD will have to work very quick. And looking at the stats for this first half right now, 6:46 on the clock. Some really good shooting percentages from the field so far from both sides.
Yeah, both teams 55% from the field, and better than 60% from three-point territory. But the trend that we largely established yesterday of these referees letting both squads play through it is continuing. Just 4 attempts for the Comets at this charity stripe, just 1 for the Prairie Wolves in the early going. Still, over 13 minutes gone by. Some physical play down low hasn't warranted a ton of shooting fouls.
You see right now, head coach Jared Fleming of UT Dallas talking with this squad. Called this game a great opportunity, saying that Nebraska Wesleyan is one of the top programs in the nation, and they certainly are again this year. But they have aspirations for the Sweet 16. Comets trotting back out onto the court. It'll be Tagnon to find a Comet. 4 seconds on the shot clock. They have to work fast. We'll see how they draw it up. Tagnon going outside. Kaiser, quick three. Drains it. Luke Kaiser. Big three with 4 seconds on the shot clock. Puts UTD up 29-25.
Kaiser does exactly what you have to in that situation. Catches and is ready to shoot. With no defender closing out on him incredibly hard, he rises up and he knocks it home.
Suter loses the ball, but is able to regain control of it, being harassed by Glenn. Now Kaiser going to Suter. Tagnon back to Suter. Suter works to his left. Now hands it over to Tagnon again. Tagnon trying to drive in. He does. Pierces the lane, but goes out to Wade. Wade going to Kaiser. Over to Tagnon. Writes a check, but unable to cash it in for 3. Nebraska Wesleyan, opportunity to cut this into a 1-possession game. Lash, 3. Off the front of the rim, but kept alive. Lash gets the ball back. Great move by Brewer to keep this play alive. Now going to Newton. Newton against Tagnon.
Looks like a foul called away from the basketball based on I believe underneath right there, Rob Wade throwing his hands on his head. That one going to go against him. Maybe some incidental contact as the Prairie Wolves were trying to move through and get back to some spots to set their offense. Instead, things resetting, 20 seconds on the shot clock.
And foul going to be called there. Likely going to the charity stripe. Indeed we are for number 23, Landon Torniton. 6'6" senior out of Council Bluffs, Iowa. Just outside of Omaha. First free throw off the front of the rim and in.
Demonstrating some shooter's touch right there. Pretty firmly hit the front of the rim, but nice roll over the top, and he gets it to drop through.
Second shot doesn't go. Tagnon takes the ball in his hands. 5:30 left in the first half. Gets it to Kaiser, down to Soto, back to Kaiser. Kaiser down to Soto. Soto over to Kaiser. Kaiser able to shoe shine one of the Nebraska Wesleyan players, assumably, as a kickball violation is called.
Yeah, it looked like Glenn might have gotten a piece of that one with his foot, but ricocheted right into the hands of Suter, who was ready to shoot it from the mid-range.
Tagnon working at the top of the arc, goes down to Soto, now to Kaiser. Kaiser works it in to Suter. Suter's mid-range jumper doesn't go. Foul going to be called. And the call going to be put on Page. Page not happy with it, but Nebraska Wesleyan bench very happy with it.
Yeah, gonna have to see a replay of this one, as it looked like Page was being driven out of bounds. He was the one that hits the ground first, unless he pulls down the defender right here. Certainly looks like they maybe have their arms tangled, and that's probably what the case was.
One and one for number 5, Andrew Brewer. Junior out of Overland Park, Kansas. First shot is good. Makes it a 27-29 point game. That one doesn't go, however. So still a 2-point deficit for the Prairie Wolves. UTD's lead shrinking, however. Tagnon going out to Kaiser. Kaiser over to his right. Now passes to his left to Soto. Soto over to Tagnon. Back all the way to the top of the arc. The shot up by Kaiser is good within the arc. Little runner puts UTD up 27-31, but working quick in transition is Nebraska Wesleyan. Connor Brown pierces the arc, and now in the paint. Gets it to Lash. Lash working against Tagnon, and Tagnon, big reaction there on the call.
Yeah, Tagnon certainly going to need to be careful. Talked about it on the broadcast last night. He was very, very vocal and very reactive in that game against Trinity. That one, understand his dislike of the call, certainly, but looked like there was some contact between the bodies as he was trying to come around and deny that entry pass.
28-31 the score. Slash hits the first free throw. An important stat to keep note of is Nebraska Wesleyan has only committed 2 personal fouls this half. They are quite a bit away from sending UTD to the charity stripe. 29-31 the score. Tagnon getting it into Suter, elbow shot, sinks it. Much needed for Suter. UTD up by 4 yet again.
Talk about those 2 personal fouls. Nice to not be fouling consistently. Unfortunately for the Prairie Wolves, they both go against Gredicke, and he's been on the bench for much of the last several minutes because of it.
Torniton works into the paint, gets the easy lay there. 4 minutes left in the first half. It's 31-33 thanks to Torniton. Tagnon finding Page in the paint, going over and back to Tagnon. His 3 is no good. Prairie Wolves move quick yet again. Carter Glenn going down to Lash. Lash looking for another Prairie Wolf. gets it to Connor Brown. Brown gets it into Lash. Great pass. Good drawn up play. 33-33. We are tied here in San Antonio. As Nebraska Wesleyan has destroyed the lead that UTD had. Now going up to Page. Page back out to Kaiser. Kaiser piercing the lane, works it, but can't finish. Page with the offensive board. His shot is too contested, but Kaiser has the offensive board again. And foul going to be called, blocking foul. I believe it is Carter Glenn who's going to get tagged with this.
Yeah, but another one that I'd certainly like to see a replay of. It was Kaiser corralling that one in that opposite corner. A couple of Prairie Wolves that were right there trying to provide a trap, and I think he felt the pressure, was trying to clear out a little bit of space. And I saw that there were some UT Dallas Comets complaining that he was clearing through, swinging the basketball. Excuse me, some Prairie Wolves complaining that he was swinging through with the basketball, trying to clear space.
3 minutes, 3 seconds left in the first half. Nebraska Wesleyan in the bonus. UTD not in the bonus. Once again, you see the huddle of UTD. Head coach for Nebraska Wesleyan, however, is Dale Wellman. A man who is certainly experienced in March Madness, going out and winning a national title in recent memory. They beat Wisconsin Oshkosh to win that title game. They've got hardware in the trophy case, and they certainly want to add another piece to it. But both sides heading back out onto the court. And UTD is going to have Suter inbound the ball as he'll try to find a fellow teammate. Looking for a Comet. Gets it to Kaiser. Kaiser leading the Comets in assists, trying to lead his team to another win here. Soto going to Suter. Suter thought about a three, but instead thinks better of it. Back down to Tagnon. Tagnon trying to get to Suter, but instead it is taken away by the Prairie Wolves. Carter Glenn working quick in transition. Torniton pierces the arc, going up, can't finish, and foul going to be called. UTD bench cannot believe it.
Yeah, players on the court very upset with that one, and I think more than anything, it's a result of how late that whistle came. It looks like Torniton was almost fully on the ground when it was blown. There was certainly contact, but I think you'd appreciate it if you're UT Dallas, if it at least comes a little bit earlier.
2 minutes, 38 seconds. 33-33, but a potential tie-breaking point here. And it is 34-33, advantage Nebraska Wesleyan, thanks to the free throw by Landon Torniton.
We talked about it a little bit earlier, Reed. You pointed to the turnovers that had mounted up through the first 10 or so minutes of this game. Since then, Prairie Wolves have cleaned it up very nicely. I think a big reason as to why they've pulled ahead and have this 2-point advantage.
35-33, the score. Soto going to the right over to Suter. Now Suter, ball in his hands yet again. Tagnon over to Kaiser. Corner three is good. The lead is taken back by UTD. So you go up 36-35. Let's go Wesleyan. Out of Lincoln, Nebraska. They give it to Connor Brown. 20 seconds on the shot clock. Glenn with the ball in his hands yet again. Brewer swings it in to Brown, who gets it into Lash. Foul going to be called. Hands up for UTD yet again. Frustrated with the officiating tonight. A new face in for UTD, number 34, Franklin Anyeme. Another stoppage of time here.
And I think frustrations both on the foul calls themselves, But also, when you look at the context of this game as a whole, on the other bench, just 3 personal fouls going against Nebraska Wesleyan at this point. I think it's at least a little bit easier to swallow the foul calls going against you when things are even in that category. But right now, the Prairie Wolves just haven't been penalized nearly as often as the Comets have been. You just have to say, it's hard to imagine that's really the case out there on the court. There's a lot of contact both ways.
Lash with the free throws. Sinks the first one, easy as pie. Another free throw on the way. 36-36. Now 37-36. Nebraska Wesleyan leads yet again. Under 2 minutes to play in the first half. Suter gets it to Soto. Back to Suter. Suter going right. Now goes to his left. Back to Suter. Trying to find Anyame, but just can't get it. And Carter Glenn falling down. And they're going to call a foul on Luke Kaiser. New face in for UT Dallas, number 23, Everett Bates.
And that one, Kaiser's first personal here this evening. We talked about it extensively the last couple of minutes. All the personal fouls that have gone against the Comets have grouped in specific areas. Donnelly has 2, Balderaz has 2, Page has 2, Tagnon just checked out of the game, he has 2, and Rob Wade also with 2 for UT Dallas. And Coach Fleming have to be careful to end this half. Doesn't want anyone to pick up a third personal. That's a lot of guys that are threatening to enter that territory.
The lead grows to 2 thanks to Carter Glenn. 38-36. Make it 39-36. 3-point game. UTD has hit a couple threes. They're 6 for 10 from beyond the arc. We'll see if they go for one here. Kaiser back out to Everett. Everett kicks it into Suter. Mid-range jumper is good. Fundamental shot hit by Suter. 39-38. UTD still trails. Minute 20 left in the first half. Now giving it up to Brewer. Brewer dribbles down the arc, gets it to Carter Glenn. Glenn back to Connor Brown. Brown looking for Lash in the paint. Instead kicks it back to Glenn. Glenn piercing the far side lane. Mid-range jumper doesn't go. But Connor Brown going for the board. And foul going to be called.
Yeah, and just really good defense from the Comets on that possession. Glenn rising up from the mid-range, and we talked about it already. He's been good from there, but pulls up from that left elbow, and as a left-handed shooter, he was stepping back and trying to turn his shoulders all in one motion. Really a complicated shot.
Soto back to Everett. Everett down to Soto. Soto deep 3. Swirls it in. Huge 3 for UT Dallas. They're up 41-39. Maybe not what they drew up exactly, but just what they needed. 2-point lead for the Comets. Less than 30 seconds left to go in the first half. Down to Torniton. Torniton looking for Lash instead. Tries to drive it in, loses the ball. It's going to be UTD ball. Very much needed for UTD.
And a neutral site here in San Antonio, but you mentioned early on, both of these teams, their fan base is traveling pretty well. UT Dallas creating some of their own energy, using one end of the floor to fuel the other. Huge shot by Soto and had him fired up to play defense right there and create the turnover. Now an opportunity for the last shot of the half.
Soto down to Donnelly, back up to Soto, down to Donnelly again. 5 seconds on the clock. Kicks it out to Kaiser, over to Suter, loses the ball. Carter Glenn takes the last second 3. Does not go, but very close for Carter Glenn. Goes off the rim. And another intriguing game in San Antonio as UT Dallas ahead of Nebraska Wesleyan 41-39 as they both head into the locker room. Certainly an interesting first half. You can see the stats on your screen. Both sides shooting the ball very well.
Yeah, the Comets gonna head into the locker room now 7 of 11 from beyond three-point territory. On the other side, Nebraska Wesleyan, as you mentioned, shooting very well in their own right, nearly 43%, but just on 7 attempts. It's been a much larger sample size for the Comets, and they're benefiting from it big time here in San Antonio.
We're going to take a break on the Tiger Network. We will see what adjustments are made. And stay tuned, because this is going to have a great ending. You can just feel it. UTD up 41-39 over NWU. Stay tuned on the Tiger Network. Welcome back to the Tiger Network. I'm Reed Rosales, joined by Luke Terry. Just some quick scoring updates from this quadrant of the bracket. Hampton-Sydney defeats Farmingdale State 72-51. Rowan defeats Catholic 89-85. And CMS currently leading Whitworth 31-28 with 4 minutes 33 seconds left to go in the first half. Of course, you know the score here. It's on your screen. UT Dallas leading 41-39 over Nebraska Wesleyan. If they were to win, the sectional likely would be hosted at Hampton-Sydney, is what would be my most accurate guess, I would assume. They look like the 1 seed in the bracket. They probably are, even though we don't officially seed things here in Division III. Be hard not to call them that. Balderaz going up to Luke Kaiser, and we're off in the second half. Donnelly going back down to Kaiser. Kaiser pierces the near lane, loses the ball. Connor Brown comes away with it, and an immediate takeaway by the Prairie Wolves.
And early in that first half, it felt like UTD was able to move the ball, get reversals, and get open shots on the opposite side. But as this game has continued, Prairie Wolves making a nice adjustment, moving side to side much better, not allowing any driving lanes for the Comets.
So we start the second half with a couple of turnovers. See if the Prairie Wolves have better luck on this possession. Lash going across the Tiger head, now hands it off to Brown. Lash, deep three, bang! Three-pointer for Peter Lash. Puts Nebraska Wesleyan up 42-41.
Peter
Suter
Lash
going from deep. Off the back of the iron. Taken in by the Prairie Wolves.
Lash hit a couple of really deep threes for this team yesterday. Zgredicki barreling down the court, going to get charged with an offensive foul right there, and catches that one. And as he was trying to gather, went straight through the chest of the defender. That's going to be his third personal foul. He missed a lot of time in the first half after he picked up his second. See a nice job, Kaiser sliding over, timed it just perfectly. But for the time being, Gredicki going to remain out there.
Suter goes into the far lane, hands it back out to Kaiser in the paint. Kaiser goes to Balderaz. Balderaz working against Gredicki. Gets back out to Kaiser. Kaiser going to Austin Page. Page backs out just a little bit. Now to Suter. Suter getting a little block from Page. Suter, 5 seconds left on the shot clock. Giving it to Kaiser. Kaiser to Page. Loses the ball. Shot clock sounds, but doesn't matter. Prairie Wolves have the ball in their hand, and Carter Glenn back out. The three attempt does not go for Lash, but offensive board. And that's going to result in points for Nebraska Wesleyan, as UTD certainly wanted to call there, but Torrington getting the points.
And Gredicki remaining aggressive on the last two possessions, even after picking up that third personal. This side of the court, he had a block the last time down and then knocked the ball out on the other side to create second chance opportunities. But the Comets hanging around right now. Balderaz catching on that opposite block again, not being deterred by the size on the inside, just rises up and finishes over the top.
Connor Brown handing it off to Carter Glenn. Gredicki for three, cannot get it to go. Torrington with the offensive board, however. Reverse layup in traffic is good. 46-43, Prairie Wolves lead. A quickly working Kaiser pierces the lane yet again, trying to get it to Page. Knocked out by a Prairie Wolf, however. And it's going to be Comet ball. 22 seconds on the shot clock. 17 minutes, 22 seconds left in the second half. Getting it in quick to Donnelly. Donnelly back outside the arc. Suter with the ball in his hands goes to his right to Donnelly. He goes to his left to Suter. Suter at the top of the three-point arc. Now it goes to Luke Kaiser. Kaiser piercing the arc. Can't get the short runner, however. Still 46-43. Prairie Wolves slowing things down for the time being. On the head is Carter Glenn, getting it to Carter Brown. Connor Brown giving it to Glenn. Glenn backing up just a little bit. Glenn working against Balderaz, hands it over to Gredicki. Gredicki in traffic, has himself denied, but it's going to get called, drawing the foul from Balderaz.
And in a sea of Comet defenders right there, didn't really matter who it was called on. Someone was going to pick up their third personal. It is number 35 for the Comets, and he's going to have to check out. Coach Fleming continuing to be very conservative and trying to avoid those third and fourth personal fouls at the end of the first half, and now here in the start of the second. Rob Wade checking back in for UT Dallas. Did a nice job in the first half, but he also has two himself.
48-43 as Nebraska Wesleyan has a nice lead in the second half so far. Contested, it's going to stay UT Dallas ball, but Connor Brown certainly wanting to get in and take away the ball. Suter going to Kaiser. Kaiser up to Donnelly, back to Kaiser. Kaiser to Donnelly again, back to Kaiser. Now in the paint to Page, trying to get it to Donnelly, knocked into the stands by Thatch, and a great catch by a fan.
UT Dallas still trying to operate with this high-low look. First half, it drew so much attention that a lot of ball reversals were able to come off of it, and Comets were able to find open shots on the outside because of it. Right there, Prairie Wolves doing a nice job. Page catching on the inside, and it was Thatch who was cognizant of shooters on the perimeter, getting over there with a nice deflection to slow the possession.
Kicked out to Suter. 5 seconds on the shot clock. Suter, little runner, swirls around the rim. Ball is free still. Who has it? It is the Prairie Wolves. Elijah Thatch, but loses the ball immediately. Luke Kaiser goes up, can't finish it off. Grabs his own miss. Rob Wade in the paint now. He tries to get it. He can't get it to go. And a lot of opportunities resulting in no points, but another opportunity. Ball in Suter's hands, and he blows the lid off of the rim. 48-45. Some opportunities there for UTD, and they finally convert.
And it looked like Glenn was just cognizant that Suter was there pressuring, took his eyes off the ball for just a second, didn't see it into his hands all the way, and then took a deflection off his body straight into the arms of Suter.
Trying to get it in to Lash. It is successful. Now working in the lane, denied by Page, and the ball trying to be kept alive, but out of bounds. Big presence in the paint. We talk about Gredeke for his size, but Austin Page is 6'10". He is certainly nothing to sneeze at if you are an offensive player.
Yeah, that time standing in there in the middle of the paint for the Comets, anticipating that one and rising up to meet the offensive player at the rim. Nice effort from Suter in that far corner, trying to leap to save it. Referee saying that he stepped on that sideline as he was jumping, contacted the ball, and it went back the way of the Prairie Wolves.
So 2 seconds on the shot clock. We'll see what they draw up. We saw an alley-oop to Gredeke in game 1 against Centenary. Will they draw up something similar right now? Looking at the defensive side, we got a glance at the UT Dallas huddle. But now you can see the Nebraska Wesleyan huddle on your screen. Coach Wellman is certain to have drawn up the best play for success. 48-45. UTD trying to dance for one last time before moving on to Division II. Nebraska Wesleyan looking to maintain and dance into the Sweet 16 and go for some more hardware in the trophy case. It's going to be Brown to try and bring it in. We'll see who he goes to. Gets it to Glenn. Shot clock goes. Shot doesn't go. On the floor, foul. And once again, jeers and cheers from both benches.
And again, it's going to be Rob Wade getting penalized right there, trying to box out on Gredeke. Just continued to take the legs of Gredeke out after he had left the floor.
Brown trying to do it himself, unable to do so. So Page ends up with the board. UTD handing it off to Suter, back down to Donnelly. Donnelly to his left to Suter, back to the right to Donnelly. Deep three, does not go. Peter Lash with the board wipe. Carter Glenn, pull up three, immediate, doesn't go. Into the hands of Page, now back to Kaiser. Kaiser to Suter. Suter working to his right, now back to Donnelly. Donnelly getting it into Page. Page in the paint, gets it out to Kaiser again. Suter, way deep three, does not go, left it short, but offensive board. No shot, but foul called.
Yeah, and that one not clipping a ton of iron, short off the front of the rim, but because of that, didn't take a hard ricochet, fell straight into Austin Page's lap. It was all the Prairie Wolves could do right there to grab an arm before he could get it up to the basket.
And looks like it's going to be a foul called on, judging by the reaction, Connor Brown. Certainly doesn't like the call, and he's going to head off. Seth Newton coming on. See on the replay here, potentially. Although I think that foul came a little bit later. They get it out, trying to get to Donnelly, but Thatch with a great interception. Now Carter Glenn all alone in front, scores! 50-45, 5-point gap as Elijah Thatch maybe getting some looks from the Nebraska Wesleyan football team after that play. Now Wade working in the paint, hands it off to Kaiser, can't finish, a short jumper. Ball is up and being tipped. Still a bunch of contention between Kaiser and Thatch. Thatch with the ball in his hands again, slowing things down. Now back up to Glenn. Carter Glenn handing it to Newton. Gets it to Glenn, and it's going to be a travel by Glenn. So turnover by Nebraska Wesleyan. Another chance for UTD.
Yeah, and Glenn liking that mid-range shot a little bit too much. And caught it and wanted to go immediately into it and thought better of it, but he had already left the ground, tried to put it down, but you can't dribble once you're in the air.
Tebow tagged on in the game for the Comets. He gets the ball, now drives into the paint. Doesn't go, but ball loose. Dagnon gets another chance, he can't finish it. 2 chances, 2 rejections. And now Nebraska Wesleyan, 13:20 left on the clock. Carter Glenn working against Dagnon. Gets it over to Brewer. Brewer back to Lash. Lash slowing things down. Back to Newton. Newton going to Brewer. Brewer trying to find someone inside. But a bit too imposing of a stature does Austin Page have. Peter Lash back out to Glenn. The 3 does not go, in and out. Contested rebound, but taken in by UTD. Suter working down. Now going up to Donnelly. Back to Suter. To Donnelly again. Donnelly gets it into Page. Now to Wade. Rob Wade can't finish. And foul going to be called. Rob Wade being called for that foul. And that's going to be foul number 4. So foul trouble for Wade.
Really the worst possible situation to pick up a foul in right there. If you're going to use them, you want to use them on the defensive end when you're truly defending shots from the Prairie Wolves, not in efforts trying to create second chance opportunities on the offensive glass.
And foul going to be called. And UTD up in arms again about the officiating. Now coming onto the court for UTD, number 34 again, Franklin Anyame. But some foul trouble for UTD. But no one really close to being sent to the charity stripe just yet. Elijah Thatch handing it over to Glenn. Glenn working to his right, hands it to Brewer, back down to Newton. Newton hands it over to Thatch. Thatch passes it to Newton, back up to Glenn now. Glenn working against Tagnon. Big pass over to Brewer, the 3, big 3! Brewer brews up a 3-point shot, And it's 53-45. Prairie Wolves extending the lead.
Yeah, and one of the best passes to make really against any zone is that reversal from one wing to the opposite corner. Brewer, a ton of space, but a better find from Glenn.
Suter working in. Now going back out to Donnelly. Donnelly works to his right, tries to pierce the defense. Instead goes to Suter. Suter thinks about a three, but doesn't take it. Instead works in, but can't score. And one of the nation's most prolific three-point shooters choosing not to take a three there. Glenn being contested by a bunch of Comets. But now Lash with the ball, works his way in.
It looks like it's going to be a carrying violation that's called right there. A little bit of a disruption as he was trying to split the defense. Maybe lost the handle just a bit, and as he was trying to regain it, got that hand underneath the basketball and just rolled over.
Stoppage of play here. And right now for UTD, they haven't scored in 4 minutes and 18 seconds. A drought lasting quite a long time. 0 for their last 7, 1 for their last 12. UTD really struggling to find the bucket. We've seen a couple little bunny shots just not going in, and a ton of opportunities just not taken by the Comets.
Yeah, and you mentioned that last three-pointer that was passed up by Donovan Suter. It looked like he might have bobbled it a little bit on the catch, and recognizing the defender closing out, instead decided to try and get to the rim. But one way or another, UTD relied very heavily on the three-point shot in the first half. I think they were 7 of 11 at the break. Here, in the first 8.5 minutes of the second half, they've started 0 for 3.
And perhaps another thing adding to that lead. We talked about the rebound game and how important it would be for these two sides. Prairie Wolves lead it 30-19 over UTD. They've gotten some good chances. They've wiped the boards clean. And 8 rebounds of the offensive variety, giving themselves second chances. But right now, UTD looking for any points right now, trying to quench the drought. Kaiser tries to pierce the lane, goes out to Tagnon. Donnelly with the ball in his hands now. Goes to Matthew Soto, back up to Donnelly. Donnelly into the paint to Luke Kaiser. Shot left short. Another miss by UTD. Prairie Wolves on the move.
And they've gotten into the paint a couple of times their last several possessions. Some new faces out there for the Prairie Wolves, including Newton, who has the ball. I don't think Nebraska Wesleyan has done a better job of defending when the Comets have tried to take advantage 2-on-1 in the bottom spot or part of that zone.
Newton gets a nice pass into Lash. Now to Brewer. Brewer, layup in right at the buzzer. Big points for Nebraska Wesleyan. They're up by 10 over the Comets. Kaiser really trying to work quick, draws the foul. He went through 2 Prairie Wolves. We'll see who they call it on. Call it on Elijah Thatch. First foul for him. Tagnon trying to find a Comet. Gets it to Kaiser. Kaiser kicks out. The three, it does not go, but ball still in the air, taken by Tagnon. Up the errant three by Donnelly. Now to Soto, back to Donnelly. 15 seconds left on the shot clock. Soto goes to his left to Donnelly. Donnelly dribbling the ball, goes back out of the arc. Soto kicks it into Tagnon. Tagnon trying to get it to Donnelly, but picked off by Thatch. Thatch keeps it alive as well. Cross-court pass to Peter Lash. Lash back to Glenn, and now draining the clock. Wanting to take these longer possessions are the Prairie Wolves. Lash goes to Newton. Newton going to Brewer. Brewer to Thatch. Thatch looking for an opportunity. Tries to go through the Comets. Instead kicks it out. Deep three from Glenn. Does not go, but offensive board. That one doesn't go. Brewer has that one swirl out. And now UTD working quick. Donnelly thought about a three. Fake the pass to Kaiser. Soto going to Donnelly and play slowing down.
Yeah, and the last time down for UTD, without either Suter or Page on the court, the offense was a little bit stagnant. Great ball movement, but just too much deferral out there for the Comets. I think after that one, Coach Fleming sends both Suter and Page back to the table. They're waiting there, trying to get some more self-creation out there for the Comets.
Foul called. Wesleyan fans loving it right now. The 6-minute scoring drought that UTD was suffering from, quenched by number 34, Franklin Anyame. Another foul tagged to Tagnon, his third of the night.
Yeah, you can see in the middle of that play, he's talking to the referee and trying to convince him that Glenn is selling everything. You can see him reach across the body of the lefty, and he gets tagged the foul ultimately.
Suter finds the ball in his hand, gives it to Kaiser. Kaiser gets it in to Page. Page trying to find somebody. Instead goes in himself, draws the foul, and will be heading to the line.
Yeah, and this is what UTD has missed. You can just throw it inside to Page at the free throw line. And while Gredicke has been able to check him for the most part, he certainly slowed him down as Page just 1 for 7 on the evening. There's going to be opportunities to get to the free throw line, especially here down the stretch. And there's going to be opportunities for him to kick it out of that position in the middle of the floor.
The big man back on for Nebraska Wesleyan, Gredicke, working one foul away from ending this game early for himself. That free throw is made, 55-48. Lash going up to Glenn. Glenn working, going into the paint himself, tries to get it to Thatch, out of his hands, in the hands of Balderaz. Now Tagnon, stopping things for a moment, gets the ball into Page. Try to work it through him again, works against Gredicke. Gredicke stuffs Page, and a foul is going to be called. So Gredicke making an immediate impact.
Yeah, and some frustration from Page right there as he swipes down. This is exactly what we talked about in that first half, though. Tries to go through the chest, tries to keep that pivot foot down, but against a taller defender, you're going into the body right there, limiting the extent to which you can elevate. It's affecting his ability to get the ball up over the top of Gredicke, who blocks that one pretty easily.
Gredicke, the shot does not go for Newton. And Suter driving it down quick for UTD. Out to Tagnon. Tagnon goes into the far lane, passes out to Kaiser. The three doesn't go. That was off the front of the rim. And now Suter for three. That doesn't go, off the back of the iron. And the ball kept alive. No inbounding needed for Nebraska Wesleyan. A big swipe by Suter, nothing called. Now Torniton trying to find Glenn. Instead, it gets picked up by Tagnon. Luke Kaiser, one man to deal with, unable to do so, but foul's going to be called.
Yeah, and Torniton doing a very nice job of getting back into the paint. He set himself and rose up off of 2 feet. He went straight up. We're going to have to see a replay of this one because Kaiser certainly took a hard fall. Plants 1-2, goes up, and if anything, Kaiser, in reaching out, creates the contact, trying to fend off the defender, and then loses balance because of it.
3 players for UTD playing with 3 fouls, and that is Tagnon, Balderaz, and Page. It is a bit of foul trouble for both sides. Gredicke having 3 fouls himself. And really what the big impact right now, I think is, Luke, is Suter hasn't been taking that many shots from beyond the arc, and he's one of not just the ASC's, but one of the nation's premier 3-point shooters. But right now, he's only taken 5 from beyond the arc, and he's missed all 5.
Yeah, a drastic turnaround after an electric performance shooting the basketball last night against Trinity. I believe he finished that one 5 for 12 from beyond the arc. and he hit the go-ahead three-point shot with, I think, less than 30 seconds remaining in the game. The Comets might not be here tonight without him, and they might not be moving on if he can't get going down the stretch.
Both teams heading out. The crowds from both sides amping up their teams. From here in Calgar Gym and in the YouTube chat, Kaiser will be taking some charity stripe shots. And you don't want to be missing those shots, but that one doesn't go. Connor Brown coming into the game for Nebraska Wesleyan. That shot does go. It is 55-49. Gredicke getting it to Lash. Nearly 7 minutes to play here in the second half. Torniton looking for someone, gets it to Lash. Lash driving in, over to Gredicke, corner three, bang! Gredicke, big three, puts NWU up by 9. And the tall man having himself a night. Page backs up, going to Suter. Suter will try to drive in the paint. Trying to get it to Page, just the pass really just not that good. Giving it to Wesleyan.
And really, I think leaving his feet, trying to avoid a 3-second call, but he didn't have anyone he was planning on passing to. And right now, the Prairie Wolves taking advantage big time. Points off turnovers and a couple of consecutive makes from three.
Torniton makes that three. And it's 61-49, a takeaway by Nebraska Wesleyan. The fans of the Prairie Wolves getting hyped up now. A 6-0 run over nearly the last minute. Glenn pierces the lane. It's up and no good. And foul going to be called. Glenn just a bit too aggressive in his pursuit of Suter.
He does a nice job of getting to the basket. Looked like his teammate on the inside, Connor Brown, was trying to help him off, seal a defender, and keep that left side of the glass open. And he got there successfully, just couldn't finish. But very important to note now, both of these teams in the bonus, 6:01 remaining, and a good opportunity for UT Dallas down by 12, and trying to claw back into this one. No better time to do it than with time stopped on the scoreboard.
First shot from Suter is good. Makes it an 11-point game, and really need to be hitting these free throws if the Comets want to will themselves back into this one. They are no strangers to comebacks.
If you're the Prairie Wolves, this is not the guy you want to send to the free throw line. I mentioned it. He's going to check out of the game, I believe, but had the opportunity there to see the ball drop through a couple of times. Just think about and feel through that shooting stroke. Good opportunity to get back into a rhythm for a three-point shooter right there.
Torrington across the timeline, but being harassed by Kaiser. And timeout being called by Nebraska Wesleyan off the hot pursuit by Luke Kaiser. 10-point gap between Nebraska Wesleyan and UT Dallas here in San Antonio. Both these teams putting together great seasons. Nebraska Wesleyan comes in to the tournament as the Pool C bid. Lost in the American River Conference Championship to Loris, but able to dispatch Centenary with ease. And now looking to punch their ticket to the Sweet 16. It's looking pretty good for them right now, but UT Dallas winning that ASC championship on a buzzer beater, having a 28-point comeback against Latorno earlier in the year. They are no strangers to comebacks. Nebraska Wesleyan certainly still have to stay on their toes.
Yeah, some of those comebacks, you mentioned down 28 to Laterno. I think some of the other, point differentials and time remainings that we've talked about, 13 points down with about a minute and a half remaining in that game. They were able to come back and win it. Another one in that ASC championship tournament. Right, down by, 6 points with about 17 seconds left in regulation, and they came back and won it in regulation.
Huddle's over. Team's back on the court. 21 seconds on the shot clock. It'll be Torrington to bring it in for Nebraska Wesleyan. Handing it over to Glenn. Crosses the timeline. Now to Lash. Back up to Glenn. Glenn dribbling now to Lash. Lash gets it in the paint. Gredicke throws it down. Slam dunk by Gredicke. Makes it 63-51, and what a momentum shifter. Now going to Donnelly. To the right to Kaiser. Now into Page. Page out to Tagnon. Kaiser going to Donnelly. They work it in a circle. Tagnon, corner three. Cannot get it. Too strong. Gredicke with the board, but loses the ball. Kaiser going to Donnelly. Donnelly dodges a defender. Back to Kaiser now. Tagnon works his way in the arc. Swings it back out to Donnelly for the three, and he makes it. Big response by UTD. They bring the game within 9.
Yeah, they were 0 for their last 7 attempts, and they had some really good looks at the basket. Second chance opportunity on that possession. They're finally able to capitalize from the outside.
Looking around for a Prairie Wolf. They get it back out to Lash. Leading scorer for the Prairie Wolves. Now to Brown. Connor Brown. Swing, pass, one-handed throw down by Gredicke. He did it again. He brings down the house for a second time, and the Nebraska Wesleyan fans on their feet.
And at the end of this one, a little bit of a broken zone for the Comets, with the Prairie Wolves doing a nice job of getting the ball on those lane lines and sending backdoor cutters from the corners.
Deep three, big response again. Donnelly, 65-57. Big response after big response.
And didn't waste any time with that one either. Caught it from straight away, deep three-point territory, and knocked it home.
Going to Brown, back out to Lash. Lash trying to work his way in. Going out to Brown. Brown looking for a Prairie Wolf. Three from Lash, does not go, off the iron. And foul going to be called. We'll see who it's tagged on.
Looks like Kaiser right there, as Brown was able to come down with that basketball. Trying to return to the court. A little bit of contact between their bodies, and this one will certainly benefit the Prairie Wolves. I believe they're going to head to the free throw line coming out of this timeout.
3:45 left in the game, and potentially the season for UTD. You can see the shooting percentages now not as gaudy as they were at the end of the first half. They've certainly fallen to earth. But right now, they really need to start heating up, and a lot of momentum going both ways. Both teams officially in the bonus, and we'll see if this one is going to be drawn into the foul game at the end, or if Nebraska Wesleyan can pull away just enough to make UTD surrender.
Right now, they've had the answer on this side of the court, the Prairie Wolves, that is. Just talked about it a minute ago, doing a nice job of getting the ball inside the three-point territory, right in the middle of the floor, frankly. On either side of those lane lines, dangerous position, that middleman of this 2-3 zone for the Comets having to step up. A couple of times, that cutter coming from the corner has been able to sneak right behind him, and a couple of times it's been Jack Gredicke who's thrown it down with authority and trying to give this Prairie Wolves team some momentum down the stretch.
Connor Brown to take these important free throws. The first shot is good for Brown. It's 66-57. Prairie Wolves lead. ice in his veins. Connor Brown puts the Prairie Wolves up by 10. Donnelly down to Kaiser. Kaiser directing traffic, calling Page forward. Kicks it to Donnelly. Donnelly back to Kaiser. Kaiser going to Suter, who's checking back into this game. Shot from the free throw line. The fundamental shot is good. A 2-point play by the three-point shooter.
The last time he was in the game, he got to the free throw line, saw a couple drop through. As it looks like Glenn going to get called for an offensive foul right there. Kaiser pursuing him, and a little bit of a stiff arm that Kaiser is mimicking on camera right there. Just trying to keep a little bit of separation was Glenn right there. You'll see him reach out. Some contact right in the face of Kaiser, gives the ball back to the Comets very quickly.
It's exactly what UTD needs. They need to get turnovers out of the Prairie Wolves. Page in the paint, back out for Donnelly. A bit too strong, but the board attempt. Foul is going to be called. And a big fall for Kaiser.
And Kaiser timing that one perfectly. He high points this basketball. Wants a sea of really big bodies out there, but when he was at his apex, just a little bit of a nudge, going to throw you well off balance, and he took a tumble because of it. Still walking a little bit gingerly. Looks like he's favoring one of his legs, but he'll take his time, step back up to the free throw line. One-on-one, as you mentioned, very important to at least get one, give yourself that opportunity for the second.
The junior does not want his season to end just yet. Thatch will head back to the bench. Misses the first of that 1-and-1. So Nebraska Wesleyan coming back unscathed. But ball turned over. Donnelly, one man to contend with, draws the foul. A good play for UT Dallas. And a great play by Connor Brown to just contend with it, even though he did draw the foul.
Yeah, Brown doing a nice job of racing back. We've seen that a couple of times for Nebraska Wesleyan here in San Antonio. Not giving up many easy opportunities at the rim. By easy, I mean the Comets are at least drawing opportunities to head to the free throw line. A lot of transition runouts here in the second half.
Double bonus now for UTD. And the first shot is made perfectly well by Donnelly. Makes it a 67-60 game. Another shot for Donnelly coming up. Two for two on that trip to the foul stripe. Makes it 67-61. 2:50 left to play in this game. Big pass over to Torrington, back out to Glenn. Nebraska Wesleyan slowing things down just a little bit. Who will Glenn go to? He drives it and gives it to Lash. Lash pierces the paint and is going to draw the foul. No shot, but a 1-and-1 on the way.
Yeah, and Lash gathering right as he was getting into the heart of the paint, trying to step through, and in the process creates this contact. Goes right through the chest of Kaiser. Very nearly a continuation right there. Instead, Lash will have a 1-and-1 opportunity.
Sinks the first part of the 1-and-1, and now Luke Kaiser with 3 fouls. Rob Wade on the court with 4 fouls. Austin Page with 3 as well. See on your screen for just a moment, head coach Dale Wellman. And a response by Lash. 69-61 is the score currently. Donnelly getting it to Page. Page looking for any comment. Gets it to Kaiser, takes a contested 3. Not the shot they needed, a little contact there. And that one doesn't go either. So 2 contested shots, one where Prairie Wolf got a piece of it, and neither of them going for Kaiser. Now Lash getting it to Torrington. Torrington to Gredicke. catches the check for three. Perhaps the dagger for UT Dallas as the Prairie Wolves go up 72-61. Gredicke in the corner bangs another one.
And that's a couple of big-time three-point makes from Jack Gredicke down the stretch here in CalGuard Gymnasium in San Antonio, Texas. Such an advantage at 6'11". Really, if you give him any space and time to get into that shot with rhythm, even if you're recovering out there, he's so tall and long. And if you can get it off cleanly, he's got a really good chance to make it, and he's proven that a couple of times from that same spot.
And right now, Nebraska Wesleyan very confident that that shot may be the difference maker and will send them to the Sweet 16. UTD, they have fought from adversity before, and they're looking to do so yet again. Suter going to Kaiser. Kaiser works to his left, back down to Donnelly. Donnelly going for the two-point play, leaves it short, but it is saved and given back to Page, but he can't finish. And Gredicke with the ball in his hands. Clean board by the Prairie Wolves, and it's just those chances right there, Luke, that UTD has not taken very often.
Yeah, you're right. They've left some points out there right at the rim, which are the ones that hurt more than anything else.
Tornington thought about a three. Doesn't go for it. Instead, it goes through the Comets. Kicks it back out to Glenn. Glenn thought about a jumper, but instead gives it to Thatch. Ball is loose, and it will be a Comet ball as Thatch loses it.
Yeah, but at the very least, Nebraska Wesleyan taking 28 seconds off the shot clock on that possession. Turnover, but with an 11-point advantage, eating clock, probably the most important thing.
It is crunch time for UTD. They lose the ball immediately out of the hands of Kaiser. And now the Prairie Wolves faithful are on their feet. They're feeling the magic. Go back out to Lash. Lash is content to hold the ball. Being surrounded by Comets. Thatch with the ball in his hands. Going to Glenn. Glenn in the paint. Easy points for Carter Glenn. 74-61. The Prairie Wolves are starting to feel it now. Suter. Whistles. Many whistles blown. And some extracurricular activities happening right now. Suter is not happy.
Yeah, some tough defense being played down the stretch here. Thatch, even with a 13-point advantage, I mean, you go back to that last possession, an 11-point advantage, Glenn going to the basket with plenty of time remaining on that shot clock. Understandable. I think you would see this really in any game. The team playing from behind, taking a little bit of offense to the energy and retained effort down the stretch from these Prairie Wolves.
Officials meeting on the court, I believe, to discuss whether a technical will be assessed to Suter for the conduct after the fact. And to get the fouls correctly assessed to each player. A 7-0 run for Nebraska Wesleyan over the past 2 minutes. And a 2-minute scoring drought alongside it from UTD. And still some conversations between the officials. And right now, talking to Coach Wellman.
And for at least a moment there, one of the officials was at the scorer's table. He had twos up on both of his hands. Of course, Donovan Suter wearing number 2. Thatch involved in that play, also number 22. So really not becoming any clearer to us here in San Antonio. But it looks like Suter's stepping to the free throw line. Maybe double technical fouls assessed and they offset. But can't say for sure. Still no address made here in the arena.
Suter sinks the first shot. And just a bit of chaos. It's 74 to 62. Still a very, very comfortable lead for Nebraska Wesleyan. And now 74-63. Glenn, immediate foul. And it looks like UTD not keen to throw up the white flag just yet. They're going to play the foul game with the Prairie Wolves. Carter Glenn will be the one to take the free throws. .40 seconds left in this game. First shot doesn't go. Still another on the way for Glenn. That one goes though. So UTD will have to work as fast as they ever have. Suter driving in. The shot up doesn't go. And that one is going to land out of bounds. Prairie Wolf ball, 31 seconds. Still a shot clock on the board. But 75 to 63. It's going to be quite the miraculous comeback. A timeout going to be called. 31.9 seconds. 75-63 score. And right now, really, if you look at the turnover game, Nebraska Wesleyan has forced the ball out of UTD's hands quite a bit. But UTD has done the same back to them, but a lot of that damage coming in the first half, where they had about 10 points off of turnovers. They have 17 in total, Nebraska Wesleyan having 16 in total. And it looks like they assessed a technical foul to Gredicke. So he has 4 fouls to his name. And they also assessed the technical to Suter. So you were completely right, Luke. Double technical on the floor.
We'll see if the Comets remain committed to fouling. They do so immediately. Kaiser committing that one right there.
We make the long walk over to the other side of the court. 75 to 63. And if the game wasn't already iced away, Peter Lash has the opportunity to put it in the freezer. First shot good, 76 to 63. Second shot good, 77 to 63. Suter takes it across the timeline. UTD not working all that quickly. Page back to Suter, deep three. That one doesn't go. It's been the story of the night, really. And that'll be it. Texas Dallas is going to throw in the towel. And Nebraska Wesleyan is heading to the Sweet 16. Carter Glenn hands the ball off to the official. Buzzer sounds. And coming from Lincoln, Nebraska to San Antonio, Texas, and the Texas Pod, a Nebraskan team will head to the Sweet 16. The Prairie Wolves win 77 to 63 over Texas Dallas. And an electric performance from many players, but the threes by Gredicke certainly being one of the biggest impacts of the game.
Yeah, and it felt like just as soon as UT Dallas started to go cold from beyond the arc, Jack Gredicke on the other side for these Prairie Wolves stepped up and knocked down a couple of really big threes to put this game just out of reach. The Comets trying to battle back. But it was the three ball that kept them in it in the first half. And you know what they say, Reed, live and die by the three-point basket. And tonight, the Comets not able to knock enough in down the stretch. And I think it's a big part as to why they dropped this game.
They pose for their team photo. Gredicke giving the W and putting the W in Nebraska Wesleyan. We will give a shout out to the seniors of Texas Dallas. Donovan Suter, a great senior year. And Luke is actually the only senior on the roster for UT Dallas. So congratulations to Donovan Suter for a great career with the Comets. Those teams he was on would not be the same without him, and they will certainly be missing him next season. Meanwhile, for Nebraska Wesleyan, they will play the winner of Whitworth and Claremont Mudd Scripps. They are playing over in LA right now at Cal Lutheran. Right now, Whitworth up 57-56 over Claremont Mudd Scripps. About 6 minutes left to go in that one. They will meet the winner of that. And if they win that matchup, they have the opportunity to either play Hampton-Sydney or Rowan. A sectional likely to be hosted at Hampton-Sydney. But this will be the Tiger Network's last broadcast of the year for basketball. Thank you for joining us for March Madness. It has been a pleasure calling these games. We wish good luck to Nebraska Wesleyan in the tournament and their aspirations for more hardware. For everyone in the control room, the camera operators, and Luke Terry, and the rest of the Tiger Network, including the people at the stats table and all the photographers getting great photos of these athletes. I am Reed Rosales, signing off.